Hello there, students. For today's lesson, we're going to be talking about the 2020-2021 school year. We're going to first focus on your world, see what is going on in your day-to-day life, what your concerns are. And then we'll start to look at the bigger picture and what it might mean for the future. And so for part one, focusing on your quote world, what you're going to do for A is you're going to write 2 to 3 sentences explaining what your world is like right now. So this is your day-to-day life. You don't have to disclose anything too personal. Just tell me what's going on. Then B, write 2 to 3 more sentences explaining what you are most concerned about in your world. What are the kinds of things that weigh heavily on you? What is it that you are most concerned about? After you've written those sentences, in part two, we're going to talk about what's going on in the big picture. So you, as we read, are going to highlight at least 3 things that are topics that concern you. I'm going to go ahead and read the text for you. Maybe try and talk a little bit more about it to help clarify it for you. So in the first paragraph, it says, "The COVID pandemic rages on, and a vaccine isn't available yet. Over 180,000 Americans have died due to the pandemic. COVID's causing businesses to have lockdown, has hurt the economy. Unemployment rates have not been this high since the Great Depression." So you all, unless you've been asleep the last 6 months, know that COVID pandemic is killing lots of Americans. It's also killing lots of people around the globe. And in the immediate now, we don't really have a solution for it. And as you know, many businesses, some you may have gone to, had to close down in order to stop the spread of COVID. This led to a lot of people losing their jobs. Another thing that's been in the news, it's our next paragraph. Killings of black people by police officers have created a movement to address racism in America. While 93% of the resulting protests have been peaceful, some cities have witnessed rioting. The election of 2020 has been very heated, and politics seem more partisan than ever. Our intelligence agencies have said Russia is interfering in the election again. Go back to the first sentence. So if everyone remembers what happened to Mr. Floyd in the spring, it was a great tragedy. And unlike many of the killings of black Americans, this one was recorded on video and people had a lot of strong reactions to it. Those have resulted in Black Lives Matter protests, and most of them have been peaceful, but have you seen in the news some cities in flames? More largely talking about the election, this one specifically the presidential election, President Donald J. Trump is up for re-election, and Barack Obama's former vice president, Joe Biden, is running against him to try and become president. If you've been paying attention at all to the language the two are using, it's very heated, and people feel very strongly one way or the other. Lastly, the intelligence agencies, that'd be the CIA, etc., have said that Russia is interfering in the election again. In 2016, we discovered that Russia was taking a lot of active measures, such as pretending to be people on social media, pretending to be Americans, trying to cause discord or disagreements between Americans. Talk about the next paragraph. The growing power of leaders such as Russia's Putin in Russia. I need to watch my text there. And China's Xi Jinping concerns many around the world. Putin can now hold power until 2036 because of changes to Russia's constitution. Xi Jinping crushed protests in Hong Kong. Authoritarian leaders are using the pandemic to increase their power and eliminate opposition. I apologize. Saying this authoritarian linked here makes me realize I didn't talk about partisan. So back to the paragraph above. Partisanship means that you have strong feelings about your political party and you're not willing to compromise with the other party. You think your party is always right and the other party is always wrong. When we refer to partisanship, it's basically one party refusing to work with the other and seeing the other party more as enemies than as other Americans. And back down to authoritarian. If you're an authoritarian leader, you are somebody who is trying to maintain absolute authority over the country. You have tried to centralize most of the powers of the government in your own office. Next paragraph. However, authoritarian leaders are only one of the international concerns. Matters like people losing their freedoms, global efforts to, sorry, I need to make these changes before. Matters like people losing their freedoms, global efforts to cope with the pandemic, and inability of less developed nations to provide enough supplies to their people should not be ignored. And all of the above issues fail to mention issues such as climate change, which scientists blame for increasingly dangerous and frequent disasters such as hurricanes and wildfires. Now that you've read and highlighted some of the text that were topics that concern you most, we're going to start looking towards the future. Okay, for part 3, you have two choices. You can answer the two questions under section 1 or section 2. Both of them are similar, but their differences are important. In section 1, you talk about 2020 and 2021's challenges and opportunities for you and your peers. So this is talking about young people, students. Question number 1. What do you think might be some of the major challenges and opportunities that you and your peers will face in the upcoming school year? You need to list 2 or more challenges and opportunities that you think are most concerning for you as a student, you as a young person. After you've identified those, number 2, you need to tell me how you could, as an individual, what you could do as an individual to address the challenges or make the most of the opportunities. So, in your own life, what can you do to try and solve the problems that are facing you? That'd be addressing the challenges. Or what could you do to take the most of the opportunities? While there's a lot of not good things going on in America right now, does that mean that there's room for improvement? And could those room for improvement be turned into opportunities? So if section 1 is talking about you, your day-to-day life, what affects you, we're going to talk bigger picture in section 2. If you choose to do this one, you're going to talk about the challenges and opportunities for America and the international community. Same process. First, you think of what some of the major challenges and opportunities that America and the rest of the international community will face during the upcoming school year. And then number 2, what could America do to address the challenges or make the most of the opportunities? You see some similarities between section 1 and section 2, but the big difference is section 1, you're focusing on you as an individual. Section 2, you're talking bigger picture. After you've done that, you've completed the assignment and you can turn it in.